make up color circuit.
Let's try it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow, guys.
1, 2.
Color
circuit.
circuit.
All right. We kind of did it.
That was okay.
Our guests today are
Elena Warden.
Phil.
Jessica. Oh.
Kevin Bransford.
Oh, thank you, Kevin, for validating my choice.
Oh, fine. My last name's Allie Corliss. Who cares?
So, this is our first live script read. We have many more to come in the future, but our first one today we're really excited about was picked out by Scott. So why don't you tell us what's going on with this?
Well, I did some research and found out that Back to the Future, the movie we all know and love, the draft that we saw on screen was many, many drafts, and the first draft was vastly different than what we all saw. So I was able to find the fourth draft, which was still kind of off of what we all know, and then Bond found the first draft.
First one from 1981. It's very different. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So,
all right. So are you guys ready? Yeah.
I think we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Everybody's
Do
got
you
their
have
part.
your script open?
Yeah.
And I think we're ready to start.
All right.
All right. So Kendra and I will be producing this show today. We will not be on screen, but you will hear our voices from time to time.
Get into it.
Yeah, our sexy voices. Everybody remember to keep your mouth close to the mic. Nobody will be able to hear you otherwise.
I'm just going to yell really, really loudly from here.
Is that the idea?
That'll work too.
If it works.
That also
Awesome.
works.
All right. Okay, great. Get started.
All right, so Back to the Future, script draft 1, written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. The first draft of 24th of February, 1981. Physicists propose that two alternate histories, two equal valid realities, could exist side by side. The one you know, and the one which you don't exist. Time itself may have many potential dimensions, despite the fact that we are condemned to experience only one of them. Carl Sagan. Hey kids, what time is it? Buffalo Bill Smith, The Howdy Doody Show. Fade in. Exterior outer space. The mothership rises above Devil's Tower and sails off into space to the strains of John Williams. In a moment we realize that we're watching the end titles of Close Encounters. And then we pull back to reveal the image is on a TV monitor. As we continue pulling back, we discover a bank of video equipment of Close Encounters being pirated from a 3/4 cassette to VHS and beta. Interior video work area, laboratory day. The video pirate operating this equipment is Marty McFly, 17. A good-looking kid who's in the air of confidence, just shy of cockiness. He's wearing a silver Porsche jacket, and like most typical modern-day kids, not a stitch of his clothing is without some brand name or form of advertising. He's looking at an ad for a guitar amp in Rolling Stone. The movie over, Marty shuts down the equipment, ejects the cassette and writes on them, Close Encounters, Original Edition. He puts the master tape back in the drawer, and we catch a glimpse of a few other titles, Empire Strikes Back, Stir Crazy, and Superman 2. Marty packs up his cassettes with his school books and takes us to another part of the laboratory. The lab is a huge room and workbenches are all over, covered with chemical and electronic equipment. The place is old and dusty and has the air of a mad scientist lab of the 50s. An elderly man is hunched over an experiment. On one side of the lab, Marty calls to him.
Professor Brown, it's almost 8:30. I'm out of here.
Shh! Professor Emmett Brown, late 60s, is tinkering with a device that looks like a solar cell positioned under a skylight to catch the sun's rays. He is eccentric, moody, but basically kindly, and very involved in his work. Marty, his closer look at what the professor is working on. The device is easily 30 years old, and Brown pours a chemical solution into a compartment in the cell. He plugs in a patch cord from the cell into a voltmeter. An incandescent bulb in the panel glows dimly, and the meter needle moves slightly.
Blast it! 24 measly volts!
He throws an Erlenmeyer flask across the room. It shatters against the wall. Points to the sun.
The power of 1,000,000 hydrogen bombs!
Points to his experiment.
And we get 24 measly volts. It's not fair! I've been working on this power converter since 1949, and you'd think in all that time I could find the right chemicals that would efficiently convert radiation into electrical energy, but no! 33 years of dedication and research, and all I've got to show for it is a bootleg video operation?
That reminds me, if we could scrape up enough for a 35 film chain, I've got a connection with the projectionist in a first-run house. We could be selling new movies on the street before they're even in the theater.
A 35mm film chain. I'll see what I can do.
The professor ponders his power converter. Marty is on his way out. He pauses at the door with 5 locks on it and tries it. Of course it doesn't open.
Won't give up, will you, Marty?
Professor Brown asks without turning around. Marty grins.
One of these days you're going to leave this door open and I'll find out what's in there.
Did you ever consider that some doors are locked for a reason?
Nope. The way I figure it, doors are made to be open. See you after school.
Oh, Marty, what time did you say it was?
8:30.
AM or PM?
Pro, the sun's out.
Oh, right.
Geez, for a guy with a ton of clocks, you sure don't pay much attention to time.
Indeed, there are never clocks all over the lab.
We should have italics. On the contrary, I may not pay much attention to the measurement of time, but I'm very aware of time itself.
As he talks, Brown walks towards Marty.
I believe time to be its own dimension, to be contained, to be controlled.
Marty's had enough of the professor's rambling. He heads down the stairway.
Catch you later, Bernie Sanders.
Marty's gone.
To be traveled through.
Professor Brown unlocks the door and enters. Interior locked room. The center of attention here is a morass of equipment of 1940s and 50s vintage that looks like something out of the Amazing Stories or Weird Science. A series of lenses is the final end to the maze, indicating that a ray of some sort is to be beamed down on whatever. Professor Brown admires his invention.
If only I could harness enough power.
Interior stairway. Marty comes down the stairs to street level and goes out the door. Exterior Orpheum Theater Building day. Marty steps out into the street from the Orpheum Theater Building, the 3rd floor of which houses the lab. The theater is an old abandoned. On the marquee are the words, Assembly of Christ. From outside, the 2 stories of the offices above the theater look just as destitute, with weathered, soot-covered walls and occasional boarded-up window. Most of the neighboring businesses are boarded up as well. We get the feeling that this was once a thriving business district, but those days are long gone. A black van is parked a little ways down the street. On the side, we see the letters NRC. 2 men are putting samples of gutter water into test tubes. They pay no attention to Marty. Marty goes next door into one of the only operating businesses in sight, Wilson's Cafe, a lunch counter joint on its last legs. Interior, Wilson's Cafe. Marty enters. The proprietor, Dick Wilson, 35, is behind the counter. Dick is quite overweight, and he's munching on a Babe Ruth candy bar.
Morning, Dick.
Marty, what's for breakfast?
Give me some chili fries and a tab.
Marty,
I can't. I got lost. I can't remember what page I'm on.
All right, we're on page.
They're not numbered.
Marty glances at the sports page of a discarded paper on the counter.
Wait. Marty was right. Give us a really. Marty glances.
Yeah, Marty glances at the sports page of a discarded paper on the counter as Dick brings him the tab.
Hot tip, rubber biscuit in the 3rd race, and Arlington.
Dick, what's with those guys out there in the gutter?
Shrugs.
3rd time they've been around there this week. Marty, watch.
Marty
Italian
watches them for a
italicized.
moment.
What's NRC?
Shrugs.
I don't know. National Cash Register?
Cut to insert science textbook. A photograph of a mushroom cloud with the caption, Last Above Ground Atomic Test, March 18th, Atkins, Nevada. A hand writes the initials MM plus SP in the clouds, drawing an arrow through it like a Valentine, and then writes, How about the dance Saturday? We'll have a blast! Interior science classroom on Marty. The hand belongs to Marty, who fakes attention to the lecture being given by Mr. Archie, a frustrated, embittered teacher of 55. Mr. Archie,
There were only 3 above-ground atomic tests in the United States, so the government took every opportunity to study the effects of radiation. Actual single-family tract homes were constructed on the test site, totally furnished with refrigerators, TVs, furniture, anything you could find in a typical home, just so scientists could learn what kind of damage an atomic bomb would do to a typical town. They even put mannequins in the houses, just like in auto crash tests.
Marty tears through the page of his textbook and winks at Susie Parker, the cute girl across the aisle behind him. They exchange a smile, and Marty tosses the folded page to her.
But the fact remains that today, 30 years after those early nuclear tests, the threat of nuclear annihilation is as great as it ever was. Certainly nuclear annihilation is something you all must have thought about. Any questions, comments, ideas? Anyone?
No reaction at all from the class. No one has hands up. No one seems interested. It's like there's crickets in the room or something.
I'm talking about the complete and total destruction of the entire world. Doesn't anybody have anything to say about it?
No one does. Archie is becoming angered and frustrated.
Well, how about you, Mr. Jackson? Would you like to share some of your wisdom with the class?
Jackson clearly wouldn't. Now Susie writes something on Marty's note, folds it, and tosses it back. It lands on the floor near Marty, and he picks it up.
Mr. Gomez, any thoughts? Miss Parker? Mr. Crump, any reaction?
Marty unfolds the note. Insert the note. Next to the mushroom cloud has been written, "That's sick." On the back has been written, "Yes." Back to shot. Marty smiles.
How about you?
Is that like a Bill Cosby?
I know. That's what Mr. McFly,
Marty quickly folds the note and shoves it into his pocket.
did you even hear the question, Mr. McFly?
Marty looks up, facing the inevitable. He might as well give his honest opinion.
Yeah, you want to know what I think about atomic bombs? Well, I'd kind of like to see one.
You'd like to see a nuclear holocaust?
Not a holocaust.
To the class.
Mr. McFly here wants to nuke it all, just so we can see it.
You know damn well that's not what I meant.
Isn't interested.
All I can say is that's one hell of an attitude, Mr. McFly. Let's explode a 100 megaton geothermonuclear device just to see it.
Yeah, exploded up your ass.
Unfortunately, the way things are going, you may get your wish. You may see the entire annihilation of the world. If not, you'll certainly see the destruction of all our natural resources. We can already see the air we breathe, not to mention the pollution in our rivers and lakes. We'll see all of our oil reserves depleted. In fact, all of our energy sources. Yes, you people have to look forward to. A lot to see.
Hey, Mr. Archie, give me a break. I'm 17 years old. I'm not responsible for all these problems.
Mr. Archie sobers up and sighs.
No, of course you're not. Not for the problems, no. But for the solutions. Yes.
The bell rings. There's a rush to the door.
See you tomorrow.
Exterior high school day. Students pour out of school. It's a typical middle American school. Brick, idyllic. Idyllic. Yeah, I can remember words. Flanked by oak trees. There's some graffiti and boarded up windows or two. Students begin their after-school rituals of smoking, drinking, loitering, eyeing girls or guys, as the case may be, and showing off their cars. Marty's among a group of kids, surreptitiously exchanging videotapes for cash. Rafe Newton approaches him.
Hey, Marty, spot me a 50 till the weekend, would ya? I'm down to my last 20.
Can't, man. I'm saving up for that new amp.
Well, when you're a big rock star, how about you loan me $1,000?
You got it.
Checks his watch.
I gotta go.
Next to Marty is his friend Donaldson.
Hey, man, what happened to your digital quartz?
In the shop, so I'm sporting the antique. Check out this wind-up action.
Marty shows him a gold wind-up wristwatch. Marty stuffs a wad of cash in his pocket as he and Donaldson descend the steps.
Hey, you want to come over? Get high?
Maybe tomorrow. I gotta dupe some more tapes.
Hey, that reminds me, my brother's getting married next week. I'm throwing a party for him. Can you provide some, entertainment?
Yeah, I can run something off this afternoon.
Interior lab, on Marty, day, as he hears sounds of heavy breathing, orgastic panting, and the porno sound effects. Marty shakes his head at what he sees. We can't see it, and turns down the volume. He's, of course, copying a porno film. Marty puts a big wad of cash into a cigar box on the bench, and then walks over to another area of the lab. Interior lab, Professor Brown's quarters. Professor Brown is sleeping in an army cot. Covered with a horse blanket, nearby is an old refrigerator, a hot plate, and some clothes hanging from an exposed pipe. Marty opens the refrigerator and pulls out a bottle of Coke. He inadvertently knocks an orange out, and it rolls across the floor, under the cot. Marty stoops down to get the orange. He moves the blanket and reacts with astonishment as what he sees a crate with a purple radioactivity emblems labeled Extreme Danger, Radioactive Plutonium, Authorized Personnel Only, Do Not Handle Without Radiation Suit. And further down, property of San Onofre Nuclear Power Plant, San Onofre, California. The orange is resting. Huh?
San Onofre.
Sanofre?
Sanonofre.
I gotta get California on you.
Sanonofre. I've never heard of this before. This is all new to me. The orange is resting right up against it. Oh, shit. Mario takes a deep breath, then uses his foot to roll the orange away from the crate. He cautiously backs away from the cot and tosses the orange into the trash can. Professor Brown continues sleeping soundly. Marty twists off the Coke cap, takes a swig, and walks over to the cage with an orange grinder monkey in it.
Organ grinder.
Organ grinder.
Oh, dang it. Organ grinder monkey. Good God. Orange grinder.
Hey, Shemp, how you doing?
Shemp is wearing a red coat and hat. Marty opens the cage and lets Shemp climb on him. Now Marty walks over to where the power converter is set up. Nearby is a stack of blueprints, very old. Marty has a look. The blueprints include on top the photoelectric chemical power converter, which is the invention on the bench, the 15-tube mechanical home butler, which is a robot, the Aeromobile, a flying car, and something called a Ridomatic, which resembles a pen with a wire attached to a suction cup. Marty studies the power converter itself. The last rays of the afternoon sun shine through the skylight and fall on the photocell. A funnel is sticking out of the chemical chamber, and it becomes just too much for Marty to resist. He pours some Coca-Cola in it, and suddenly, a blinding spark crackles from the other end of the device. Marty jumps back. Professor Brown awakes with a start. He looks around and rushes over to the power converter.
What happened?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I accidentally spilled some Coke in here. Just a drop.
Brown hooks up the voltmeter and light bulb.
Give me that.
He takes the Coke from Marty and pours a little into the funnel. The light bulb glows vibrantly. The voltmeter needle jumps and the equipment hums. Brown pours in more Coke and the bulb glows with increasing intensity, then explodes. The voltmeter needs to go off the scale. The power converter vibrates and falls off the bench. The professor stares in disbelief. His hands begin to tremble. His reaction would be no different if Jesus Christ himself walked into the room. He checks the ingredients in the bottle.
What's in this stuff?
Nobody knows the formula for Coca-Cola. It's the most closely guarded secret in the world.
The professor ponders the discovery, then gathers up the power converter and goes to the locked door. He begins unlocking it, then looks at Marty.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Professor Brown takes the device into the room and locks the door behind him. Interior, Marty's bedroom night. Marty wears headphones and is playing his electric guitar along with a record on his stereo. His bedroom walls have posters of rock stars. A second bed and bedroom set are testaments to an older brother no longer living at home. As Marty plays, he walks around using the top of his guitar neck to move objects and lift magazines on the desk and bureaus. He's looking for something. He moves a rolling stone. Under it are some tools. He moves an issue of Heavy Metal and the Lampoon. Under it, some homework. The record ends. Marty takes off the headphones and yells out the door.
Who stole the drill?
He's answered by a woman's voice.
Dinner's ready.
Interior, Marty McFly's home, night. Marty goes downstairs into the living room. The furnishings are Montgomery Ward and Sears. George McFly, 47, is absorbed in a boxing match on TV. He's balding, bored, uninspired, a man who's lost at the game of life.
Anybody seen the drill?
His father doesn't react. His mother, Eileen, 47, sticks her head out of the kitchen. Once she was very attractive. Now she's in a rut.
I've been calling you for 5 minutes. Didn't you hear me?
I was practicing. I've got an audition next week. I gotta practice. How am I gonna get famous if I don't practice?
You won't get famous if you don't eat either.
She goes back into the kitchen.
Dad, have you seen the drill?
What drill?
The drill, the power drill I bought you for Christmas. I was using it last night.
It'll turn up.
Marty sits down in the kitchen where his mother is putting food on a table.
George, dinner's ready.
Coming, Eileen.
George just sits there, watching the boxing match.
Now, George, dinner's ready.
Coming, Eileen.
A commercial comes on. George gets up and rolls the TV stand over to where he'll be able to watch from the dinner table. To Marty.
How was school today?
Fine.
Learn anything?
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Now George sits down.
How was school today?
Fine.
Learn anything?
Oh, yeah.
good.
George turns his attention totally on the TV. Marty looks at the newspaper. Eileen stares off into space. 20 seconds of lively family dinner conversation. By the sportscaster giving the blow-by-blow on TV. Finally, Eileen opens her mouth again.
By the way, that reminds me. Saturday night we're taking Grandma Stella out for Chinese food.
Eileen, Chinese food again?
George, if you don't want Chinese food, pick a place you want to go to and we'll make a reservation.
That means he'll have to pick up the phone, Mom.
No, Chinese food is fine.
Saturday night's the Springtime in Paris dance. I'm taking Susie Parker.
The Springtime in Paris dance? You hear that, George? They're still having the Springtime in Paris dance. That was our first date, remember, George? I remember everything about that night. Remember the first time we kissed? It was during the last dance. They were playing that Edie Fisher song, Turn Back the Hands of Time. I even remember how you asked me out. You were in the cafeteria. You were so scared. You spilled your creamed corn.
George just stares at the TV, oblivious to his wife.
And I probably won't be here when you wake up Sunday morning. Susie and I are going to go down to the lake and watch the sunrise.
Sunrise? What for?
To see it?
George doesn't get it. He turns his attention back to the TV.
You mean you're gonna stay up all night?
Mom, how else are we going to see the sunrise?
I don't think I like the idea of you staying out all night with a girl.
Hey, Ma, give me a break.
There's a sudden pounding on the back door. No one moves to answer it. Pounding again.
Would you answer that, George?
George ignores her. Finally, Marty gets it. At the back door, Marty opens the door, and there is Biff Tannen, 47, an intimidating lout whose potbelly protrudes from his security guard uniform. His tie is undone, shirt tail out, obviously home from work. His shoulder patch reads, Special Security Officer. Marty isn't happy to see Biff, and the feeling is mutual.
Well, 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 if it isn't the neighborhood bootlegger, Al Capone McFly.
What do you want, Biff?
Show me some respect, you little a-hole. It's Special Officer Tannen to you.
What's the matter, Biff? They're not showing you any respect down at the golf course? Don't they realize what a tough job it is keeping the criminal element away from the country club?
Listen, you little a-hole, I oughta...
What do you want, Biff?
Where's your old man?
Marty gestures into the kitchen. Biff now reveals he has a broken power drill and a set of bits. Interior kitchen. Biff approaches George.
Hey, McFly, what's with this cheap-ass drill you giving me? Thing burned up first time I used it. Almost ruined my whole engine block.
Marty shakes his head.
Biff, there was, those are wood bits. Say so right here. You're not supposed to use them on your engine block.
Look, McFly, I know a lot about tools. This is a cheap-ass drill. You're just lucky I didn't ruin my engine block. Next time you buy me tools, let me know. I'll help you pick some good ones.
Gives George the drill.
Oh, and one more thing. My kid's selling Girl Scout cookies. I told you were good for 4 boxes. Don't make me a liar.
George nods timidly as Biff exits. He turns and faces his wife and son, who meet his gaze with knowing looks.
How do you like that guy? Uses wood bits on the engine block? Marty gets up from the table and storms out into the living room.
Where are you going?
In reply, we hear the slam of the front door.
Sorry.
Exterior McFly home. Marty, night. Marty puts on his silver Porsche jacket. As he stomps across the front lawn, he punches the beat-up old mailbox, which has the address, 777, then kicks the family car. Exterior, a residential street. Night. Marty is taking a walk with Susie Parker. Marty's been talking, and although still frustrated, he's now much more at ease.
He just lets himself get pushed around all the time. People walk all over him and he never fights back. Never stands up for himself.
No self-confidence, I guess. At least you don't take after him.
Yeah, Jesus. I wonder how he ever got up enough nerve to marry my mom.
They walk a bit in silence.
Can you imagine your parents in bed together?
No way.
Me neither. I've always wondered whether they slept together before they got married. You think yours did?
Hell no. The way my mom carries on about sex. You even say the word, she goes into cardiac arrest. You should have seen her face when I told her we were going to stay up all night Saturday. Always afraid something's gonna happen.
Something gonna happen Saturday night?
Before Marty can answer, he gets hit in the leg by a runaway skateboard. Two kids down the street have been running an obstacle course, and the loser is picking himself up off the pavement. Marty hops on a skateboard and whizzes over to the kid. He can't resist showing off. He maneuvers smoothly through the obstacles, jumps over the last one and lands perfectly on the board, then hops off, flipping the board into the air and catching it. He hands it back to the kid.
Wow, you're good.
Wow, you're good.
Marty grins and rejoins Susie. She too is impressed.
Just like riding a bike. You never forget how to do it.
They're standing in front of a house. Susie looks at it, then at Marty. Obviously, it's her house.
Well, here we are.
They look at each other for a moment.
Thanks.
He kisses her.
See you later.
She goes into her house. Marty watches her, then continues down the street, alone with his thoughts. As he walks, a black sedan approaches slowly from in front of him and passes by. There appears to be some sort of receiving apparatus on the roof. Now we see the sedan making a U-turn on the street behind Marty and comes up right behind him. Marty becomes aware of the headlights behind him. He looks at the car and steps over to the side of the street. The car pulls up alongside him, and two government types get out. They are NRC markings on the car.
Good evening. Agents Reese and Foley from the Nuclear Regulation Commission.
Reese displays his ID.
Mind stepping over here?
Marty cautiously steps over.
What's this all about?
Routine radiation check.
Foley takes a Geiger counter and checks Marty. Nothing unusual happens until Foley checks Marty's feet. Then there's some noticeable clicking, especially on the foot that went nearest the plutonium. Reese and Foley exchange a look.
Have you got any identification?
Don Stark requests more accents.
Oh.
I love accents, John Stark.
Marty hesitantly hands Reese his wallet.
What, am I radioactive or something?
No, not beyond an acceptable level.
Have you been x-rayed recently, Martin?
Perhaps been in contact with some luminous paint.
No.
Been any place unusual in the past 12 hours?
Home, school, here?
Been in the vicinity of 2980 Monroe Avenue today.
Where?
Over by the old Orpheum Theater.
Marty hesitates. Just a moment.
No.
Okay, Martin. You have a good evening now.
Yeah, right.
Reese follows Foley back into the car and drives off. Marty thinks for a moment, then runs like a hare all the way down to the streets.
I can't do that.
Exterior Orpheum Theater night. Marty runs to the street of the Orpheum. I can't keep doing it the whole entire time. The only thing in the street besides him is a newspaper blowing along the gutters. Marty tries the door to the stairs. It's unlocked. Marty steps back and looks at the upper floor. Suddenly, the three upper floor windows are blown out by a tremendous gush of air.
Jesus.
He tries the door again. Marty has no other choice. He breaks the glass in the door and lets himself in. Marty races up the stairs to the laboratory. The door with the rocks in it is unlocked. The light can be seen from the cracks under the door. Marty rushes into the door. Interior, the rocked room. Professor Brown stands next to a homemade nuclear reactor.
I want my name taken off this.
Made from the old furnace. A hot water heater and boiler pots. He has one hand on a rope, and he is adjusting some dials and the gauges. Shemp is sitting quietly on a stool directly under, focusing the lens of Professor's inventions. He's wearing his organ grinder clothes with a digital watch around his neck.
Professor?
The professor, although surprised to Marty, is in command of this situation.
Get behind the lead shield.
He points to the shield at one side of the room.
But, Professor?
Get behind the shield. I'm about to release radiation.
Marty hurries behind the shield. Professor Brown pulls the rope ever so slightly. The power converter is activated.
The low-frequency hum of the vacuum tubes become more intense. The frequency rises and rises, accompanied by the crackle of ecstatic electricity. Shemp looks around, curious about all these sounds. The sounds grow intensity. The tension builds, and at exactly 9, Professor Brown releases the rope. At that moment, a high-frequency tone is emitted, accompanied by a focused beam of light, blinded by red light, like a spotlight, which hits Shemp.
More accent.
Oh,
More racist.
bro, I can't do it, Cotton. Shemp disappears into the top half of the stool and disappears for him, leaving the tower halves of the legs in which were not hit by the beam to topple to the floor. The air rushes the lab into the field of vacuum that creates by Shemp's disappearance. The sound of the equipment crashes down, and stunned Marty McFly steps out from behind the shield.
Jesus, Professor, you just disintegrated Shemp.
Professor Brown shook his head, a smile playing around his lips.
No, Marty. Shemp's molecular structure is completely intact.
Then where is he?
The appropriate question to ask is, where is he? You see, Shemp has just become the world's first time traveler. I've sent Shemp into the future. 2 minutes into the future, to be exact.
The future? What are you talking about? Where's Shemp?
Shemp is right in his room. 2 minutes from now, at exactly 9:02, we'll catch up with him.
Now, hold on a minute, Professor. Hold the phone. You trying to tell me this, all of this, that this is, it's a
time machine!
Marty has to sit down. Marty has to sit down to take this one in.
I always knew it would work. I knew it would work when I built it 33 years ago, but I was never able to harness enough power to test it. Power is the key. Massive amounts of energy to accelerate matter, and the speed of light. He has a speech out of it too. To the speed of light, while creating an intense gravitational field. But generating that kind of energy has never been possible until this afternoon.
Mary Poppins, because of that Coke.
Precisely!
Sponsored by Coca-Cola. Brown takes on the characteristics of a tour guide as he explains the machine.
The power converter, now operating at peak efficiency thanks to the chemical makeup of Coca-Cola, ding, channels energy into the flux capacitor, which releases several gigawatts in the fraction of a millisecond. Electron acceleration takes place here, and the result is a temporal displacement beam you saw a few moments ago. The entire process is triggered when I release the rope.
I thought the power converter thing operated on solar energy. There's no sun.
Solar energy would have worked just fine if I could have placed the converter about a mile from the surface of the sun. Instead, I've created similar conditions in this reactor here.
Indicating the rope.
The higher I raise this cadmium rods, the more energy I release from the plutonium core, and the further through time I can send an object.
The plutonium? That's what I came over here for. Professor, where did you get that stuff?
Why?
I just got stopped in the street by federal agents checking me for radiation. I figured they're after your plutonium.
Professor Brown glances at a digital clock in the lab. It's 9:01:50.
10 seconds!
He rushes over towards the spot where Shemp vanished. Marty follows.
Brace yourself for a sudden displacement of air.
It's 9:01:55, 56, 57, 58, 59. There's a sudden displacement of the air, and Shemp reappears. The legless stool reappears as well, and topples over. I almost said topless.
Topless over.
Topples over. The startled monkey jumps into a nearby bank of equipment.
Shemp!
They're very topless. Professor Brown picks up Shemp, looks him over, and examines the watch around his neck. 9 and 10 seconds. The lab clock says 9 and 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Exactly 2 minutes difference, and still ticking.
Is Shemp alright?
Of course, Shemp is unaware that anything ever happened, other than his stool suddenly falling over. We had to wait 2 minutes to catch up to him, but for Shemp, the trip was instantaneous.
Marty has a look on his face, the look of an idea.
Professor, can this thing send Shemp back in time?
Yeah, theoretically, yes, if I were to reverse the polarity.
Professor Brown indicates the polarity switch on the time machine, which is in the position of a positive position.
Jeez, Professor, you've got a gold mine here.
A gold mine?
Sure, listen. We take the racing results from today's paper.
Marty rips through a discarded newspaper and finds them.
Here they are. We send them with Shemp back to yesterday. We get the information, put our money on the winning horse, and become billionaires.
Marty, that would alter history, it would.
So what?
Don't you understand? The mere act of sending matter back in time would change the course of events, and changing history is a responsibility that I do not wish to bear.
All I know is you're throwing away an awful lot of money.
The future, Marty, the future is everything. I built this machine to see the future, so I'm going to send Shemp 24 hours into the future. You can assist me if you like.
Sure.
The professor exits the time machine room into his main laboratory. Marty sees that he's gone, so he tears the racing results from the sports page, circles the date, and sticks the clip in onto Shemp's pocket. Again, making sure that the professor isn't watching. Marty flips a polarity switch to negative. Damn, this is really hard to do. I can't do that. All right, interior main laboratory. Professor Brown is looking for something on a table near the window. He finds it, a microcassette recorder. He hurries back into the time machine room. Interior time machine room. Professor Brown locks the door behind him and then gives him the microcassette recorder to Marty.
Take this, stand at the panel, and read off the radiation levels. I want to have a record of what happens here. Be sure to tell me when we reach 85 rads.
Marty takes his position at the appropriate panel. Brown sets up the stool again and places Shemp upon it.
Come on, Shemp. This won't hurt a bit.
The professor takes his place at the reactor. Shemp is between him and Marty. He doesn't notice the polarity switch.
Here we go.
He throws a few switches. Equipment hums to life. Now he cautiously begins pulling the reactor rope. Marty begins reading off meters into the recorder.
Radiation level 10 rads. Stabilization coefficient 0.43, 0.16 rads. Coefficient 0.45, 37 rads. 0.46, 0.51 rads. 0.46, 73 rads. 0.74.
Suddenly, the door is kicked open by NRC agent Reese and Foley, along with police and other agents. They leap into the room with drawn 38s.
All right, everybody freeze, ese. NRC.
Get back!
Jesus Christ, this a goddamn reactor!
Reese points his gun at Professor Brown.
You, Fato, shut it down now, ese.
No, get out! I'm in the middle of an experiment.
Brown makes no effort to move away from the reactor. Rather, he pulls the rope a slight bit more. Foley fires at the professor. The noise startles Shemp, who jumps off his stool. Professor Brown takes the bullet in the upper chest. He staggers back.
Die!
Ooh, still holding the rope, and as he falls, he pulls the rope as far as it will go.
Professor!
Glances at meter.
Oh my god! Release the rope! It's 4,200 rads!
Can't hear him.
What is it?
Release the rope!
The incredible din of the equipment makes the screaming virtually inaudible. Marty rushes over to the professor, but Foley immediately levels his gun at him.
Freeze!
Marty freezes. He's standing right under the focusing lens. He raises his hands. Professor Brown is lying on the floor, his hands still on the rope. His grip relaxes and the rope released. The time beam engulfs Marty. This time, it's a bright white. Reese and Foley are dumbfounded. Marty looks up. Marty's POV of light, an intense white light. Then suddenly everything goes black, and the blackness becomes dead quiet.
Professor, hello?
A match is struck, and Marty looks around to find himself in what appears to be a storeroom. Interior storeroom, Marty, night. Marty cautiously looks around and almost tripping over an old chair. There's some dusty furniture and crates in the room. Marty lights another match and makes his way to the door. It's in the same place as the door in the time machine room, because this is the time machine room, as it was once. Marty tries the locked door.
Damn.
He goes to the window and opens it. We can hear the sound of muffled traffic. Marty climbs out the window. Exterior rear of Orpheum Theater Building, night. Marty comes out of the third-story window into a fire escape and descends. Just as he drops into the alley below, he's hit by a pair of headlights. A large truck is barreling towards him. Marty presses himself against the wall, and the speeding truck passes, narrowly avoiding him. Marty sighs of relief. Sigh? There we go.
Wait for it.
Then notices a sign on the doors he's standing to. Wilson's Cafe rear entrance. Marty tries the door. It opens. Marty is surprised at this. Nevertheless, he enters. Interior, Wilson's Cafe night. Marty walks in. Yes, this is Wilson's Cafe, all right.
Hey, since when you open at?
Marty stops short. Things are not the same. Dick isn't behind the counter. Instead, there's a waitress about 30. Everything is shining clean. The fixtures look newer, but older. The prices are different. Too. The roast beef sandwiches, only 30 cents. Ice cream sundaes, 15 cents. This sounds fucking amazing. I could go for this all day and all night. And the customers, men in double-breast suits and hats. Women with long skirts, not one female in pants. A hairstyle like Marty's has never seen. Marty stares open-mouthed, walked around, taking it all in. A chubby boy, about 5, in pajamas, is playing on the floor with trucks. Now Marty notices the waitress is staring at him with curiosity and suspicion.
You want something, kid?
Marty decides to sit down at the counter and acts like he belongs here.
Yeah, give me a tab.
A what?
A tab.
Kid, I can't give you the tab until you order something.
People at the counter are looking at him, especially at his silver Porsche jacket. Marty notices that the man next to him is drinking coffee.
Coffee.
She pours him a cup and serves him.
Did something happen to you, kid? I mean, you been lost in the woods or something?
Marty looks at the bowl of sugar cubes on the counter.
Say, you got any sweet and low?
Sweet and what?
Her suspicions aroused, she takes the coffee away.
Maybe you better pay for this first.
Sure.
Marty pulls out his wallet and hands the woman a $20 bill. Her eyes nearly fall out of her head.
A 20? What do you think this is, a bank? I can't break a 20.
Suddenly suspicious.
Say, what's a kid your age doing with all this money?
Marty takes back the bill.
Look, maybe I better talk to Dick. He around?
Dick? Dick who?
Guy who owns this place.
I run this place.
What happened to Dick Wilson?
Dick Wilson? Dickie Wilson? Dickie Wilson runs this place? That's a laugh. Everybody at the counters. Oh.
Everyone at the counter.
You keep going with it.
Do what I want you to do.
Everybody at the counter starts laughing.
There's a goat in here.
Paranoid.
What are you trying to do? Freak me out or something?
The man sitting next to him reacts. Freak! Are you for some circus? Is that what all this writing on your clothes means?
Now the little boy runs up to the counter.
Mommy, I'm hungry.
Just take a candy bar, then go to bed, Dickie.
Marty reacts and stares at the 5-year-old.
Dickie? That's Dick Wilson?
That's Dick Wilson.
Marty looks at him as he grabs a baby Ruth from the candy counter. Then Marty spots the calendar behind the cash register. In big black numbers, it clearly reads 1952.
Dun, dun, dun.
1952? This is 1952? Holy shit, what does this mean? I've gone back in time 30 years. 30 goddamn years. I haven't even been born yet.
I'm calling the cops.
But even as she goes for the phone, Marty bolts out the front door. Exterior, street, night. Marty stares in astonishment at the sight before him. The rundown Monroe Avenue that he knew is now bustling, thriving business district. Traffic of 1940s and 50s cars pulsing through the street, and pedestrians wandering about. The storefronts that were boarded up are now shops doing profitable business. Pedestrians eye Marty curiously as they walk past, but Marty is too panic-stricken to notice them. Now he sees the Orpheum Theater. The marquee is lit up, and the place is obviously a first-class movie house. The flashing marquee advertises John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, The Quiet Man, in full color.
Damn it.
Marty sees a pedestrian with his newspaper. He grabs it away from him and looks at the date.
1952, damn it.
He throws it down in disgust and runs down the street. On the street, Marty stops, looking at the license plate on a parked car. Once again, there's the freaking year!
1952, damn it!
Marty runs off. Exterior, telephone booth, street, night. Marty's in a phone booth, frantically tearing through the phone book. He finds the page he's looking for. Insert phone book. Marty fingers down the list of Browns, coming to rest at Brown Emmett L. 788 with West Spruce, Madison, 3489. A big pen circles the name and number. Back to shot. Marty reaches into his pocket. He has a nickel and 3 pennies.
Damn it.
He picks up the receiver and pumps the switch hook.
Operator.
Operator, listen, this is an emergency. I have to make this call, but I don't have a dime. All I got's a nickel. But you gotta connect me.
Sir, can you hear me? It only costs a nickel.
What?
Local calls cost 5 cents.
Local calls only cost 5 cents. What number do you want?
Marty sees a sign on the phone. Local calls, 5 cents.
Oh, right. Madison, 3489.
5 cents, please.
Marty deposits his nickel.
The number of voice so far.
I'm sorry, there's no answer.
Operator, what's today's date?
March 11th.
What year?
1950.
Damn it!
He slams down the receiver that tears a page out of the phone book and runs down the street with it. Exterior residential street, Marty, night. Marty runs down the residential street, tired, breathless, exhausted. He leans against a mailbox to catch his breath. He then notices the number on it, 777. He turns and looks into the house.
My house.
Indeed, it is Marty's house, or rather, it will be. The trees aren't quite as tall as those as we saw earlier, and the curtains are different. There's a 1949 Chevy in the driveway, but it's the same house. Then the front door opens, and a woman opens the screen to let the dog out. Unless we're seeing things, it's Eileen, looking nearly identical to when we saw her last, save her different clothes and hairdo.
Is stunned. Mom!
He runs towards the house. Exterior house. As Marty runs towards the house, the woman closes the door. Marty runs up the steps and pounds on the door.
Mom, open up, it's me.
The door opens. Indeed, the woman appears to be Eileen, but she doesn't recognize Marty.
Mom, thank God you're here.
I beg your pardon, young man.
Mom, it's me, Marty. Don't you know your own son?
I think you have the wrong house. Marty is very intense, sweating, breathing hard.
No, it's not.
A man in his mid-40s approaches the door. He's smoking a pipe and seems like a decent sort.
Who's there, Stella?
Stella. No, don't tell me you're Stella. Tell me you're Eileen. Please tell me you're Eileen.
Through the door, we can see a 17-year-old girl coming down the staircase. She's very attractive.
I'm Eileen.
Marty locks eyes with her. His mother, age 17.
How old are you?
17.
What does one do when he meets his mother in such circumstances? Marty faints. A hand! Oh, old snot salts, bringing them under Marty's nose. Marty's lying on a couch. He stirs and opens his eyes. Marty's POV of Professor Brown as a young man. Oh, he's well dressed, less eccentric in a manner, and seems much more self-confident than his older self. It is Brown who is administering the salts. Wider angle interior living room. The room is the same as in Marty's house, with different furniture, in the same basic arrangement, and in a different color scheme.
Professor Brown.
You know me.
Professor, your time machine works. It works. It sent me back in time. I'm from 1982.
Brown is unsure whether to believe him. Another family approaches. Mr. Baines, his wife Stella, and daughter Eileen.
Is he all right?
Professor straightens up.
He will be. Simple inebriation is all. The young man must have a rather low tolerance for alcohol, something that runs in his family. You see, he's a second cousin of mine on my mother's side. Came quite a distance to visit me. His name's Lewis.
Correcting him.
Marty.
Marty Lewis. I almost didn't recognize him. Haven't seen him in years.
This is very different from the Calvin Klein that it used to be.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, this is very different. Young Eileen can't take her eyes off Marty. Marty's too is fascinated by her.
It's a good thing you had your name circled in the phone book. I wouldn't have called the police.
Well, Mrs. Baines, Mr. Baines, thank you for your trouble. Both Marty and I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll get him home and as good as new.
Marty and Brown get ready to leave. To Marty.
Son, watch your step! Watch your step!
Yes, sir.
Eileen gives Marty his Porsche jacket, which is lying on a chair nearby.
Oh, here's your jacket.
Thanks.
What sort of material is this? I've never seen anything like it.
It's polyester.
Polly what?
It's an experimental invention of mine, sort of a rubberized silver foil. I just made up a name for it. Come on, Marty, we've got a lot to talk about.
The professor goes out the front door. Marty's behind him. And just as he steps into the doorway, Elaine speaks up.
Marty,
Huh?
have we ever met before?
Their eyes meet. But before Marty can answer, the professor's arm reaches over and yanks him away.
Yoink. Exterior Victoria-style mansion, night. A fabulous Victorian mansion sits on a hill on the outskirts of town. On the mailbox is the name, Brown Emmett. A beautiful 1937 Packard pulls up to the mansion.
And the flux capacitor is hooked into this thing that looks like a condenser with a lens on it.
Now Marty and the professor get out of the car. Marty stares into the incredible house, very impressed.
Jeez, this is where you used to live, huh? You must have been rich.
Must have been used to live. I do live here.
Oh yeah, well there's a mall here now. I mean there will be.
A mall?
Yeah, shopping mall. You know a shopping mall?
They are walking towards the front door.
Don't tell me these things, Marty. I don't want to know about the future.
They enter the house. Interior living room, Marty and Brown, night. A light goes on in the large living room.
Do you see it here?
Marty looks around the room. The evidence of the professor's eccentricity is just beginning. Mechanical apparatuses laying haphazardly around the antique tables and furniture. There's something built out of the shell of an old vacuum cleaner and an old washing machine that might as now be a still.
No.
Interior, another room, the study. Again, a light goes on. Mostly, this is a library. But there are some models of some of the professor's ideas here, including the Aero Mobile and the mechanical home butler. Professor Brown looks at Marty. Again, Marty shakes his head. Now Professor Brown unlocks a door, and at the end of one room, he puts on a light. Marty approaches the doorway.
This is it.
Marty's POV of the time machine, looking almost exactly as we saw it in 1982, except that it's a lot cleaner and shinier on Marty and the professor.
You've convinced me that you must be who you say you are. No living human has ever seen this machine.
Thinking.
But why? Why even in my twilight years would I remotely consider sending someone back in time?
You didn't, Professor. It was an accident. You see what happened?
No, don't tell me. I don't want to know the future.
Yes, you do.
My knowledge of future events, you mere presence here, could have devastating effects on the course of history. And altering history is a responsibility that I do not wish to bear. My immediate responsibility is to send you back to your own time.
I can dig that.
Blah, 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 blah. Pardon me?
I can get behind. I agree with you.
The phone rings. Brown answers in his study. Marty follows. Interior Brown's study. Marty and Brown. Marty examines the models of Brown's inventions while the professor talks.
Hello?
Pause.
Yes, Charles, yes. I looked over the offer.
Pause.
It's very generous that they want to make me a major stockholder. But I'm just not interested in a position with this little X-Rox corporation.
Pause?
If it's pronounced Xerox, why don't they spell it with a Z?
Pause.
Look! I'm on the verge of a breakthrough on my own power converter.
Marty reacts with a pained expression.
Well, any day now, and then I'll need people to work for Emmett Brown Industries. I've got a lot of ideas that are going to create a lot of jobs.
The most excruciating, longest pause.
Very well. Good night, Charles.
Hangs up.
The X-Rox Corporation? How are they going to sell the product if you can't even pronounce the name?
Brown turns his attention back to Marty.
Now, the time machine works, that's obvious. As I've always known, it's a question of power. Will I get enough power to send a man 30 years through time?
Long pause as he thinks.
Marty is about to answer. The professor holds up his hands.
No, wait, don't tell me. On second thought, there may be some things you'll have to tell me.
The power converter.
Of course, the power converter. It works.
Afterthought to himself.
Of course it works. What chemicals do we use?
Marty hesitates and takes a deep breath.
Well, Professor, are you sure you want me to tell you? You know, changing the course of history and all.
Professor Brown would painfully like to know, but his sense of scientific responsibility gets the better of him.
Blast it! No, I suppose you're right. You do know the proper chemical formula?
Sure, there won't be any problem getting it.
Professor Brown goes to the bar and pours himself a brandy.
A Coke!
How did you know?
Just a guess. I figure kids would still be drinking Coke in 1982.
He throws Marty a bottle.
All right, then it's very simple. Tomorrow, weather permitting, you'll get the chemicals, and we'll wire the power converter to the time machine, point it at the sun, and send you home.
Well, not exactly, Professor. You see, we don't point it at the sun.
We don't?
No, you need a nuclear reactor.
Choking on the drink?
A nuclear reactor? How much energy do we need?
Cut to close on Marty's microcassette recorder, which is playing back the tape of moments before Marty went through the time. The machine. All of the voices on the tape are muffled, except for Marty's, and the gunshots heard sound fairly clear. Marty's voice on tape.
Release the rope, it's 4,200 rads.
Wide angle, interior Brown study. Marty and Brown. Professor Brown is seated at his desk. He fumbles with the recorder and shuts it off.
4,200 rads. Good God!
This makes me really miss the car. Like, so much.
Yeah.
Marty's
have a
trying.
moment
Oh my
of
God, you
silence.
guys.
Just a moment of silence for the car, real quick. Marty's trying to twist open the bottle of Coca-Cola. Sponsored by Coca-Cola. A moment for Coca-Cola,
Really?
please. Yeah. Seriously, it's everywhere. He can't twist off. Oh, he can't. Twist off haven't been invented yet.
He can't twist off.
That is a problem. Trying to pump off he is.
No wonder he's confused about his mother.
There's something I still don't understand. Fascinating device.
All this talk about Coca-Cola made me want one.
There's plenty in the fridge.
Plays back the gunshots. Pew pew, pew pew pew, pew pew. The loud bangs could...
Oh, these loud bangs. Could those be some sort of malfunction in the time machine? Do you know where they are?
Marty is, of course, quite uneasy.
I wouldn't worry about him, Professor.
Again, we hear the 4,200 rads portion of the tape. Professor Brown shakes his head.
4,200 rads! That certainly can't be generated under controlled condition in this day and age.
Well, that's just great.
However, there's a lot I don't know about nuclear physics. So, first thing... That's a typo. First thing in the morning, I'll go to the university, see what I can find out. I want you to stay in the house. It's very important that you don't interfere in any way with the outside world. I've got plenty of food. There's a radio, books, magazines. I've even got one of those new television sets. There's plenty to do.
Professor Brown looks at Marty, who's still trying to twist off the Coke bottle. Brown stares incredulously.
What are you doing?
Spat all over my computer.
I know.
How do you open these?
The professor takes the bottle from Marty and opens it with a bottle opener. He hands it back, not sure what to think. Afraid to ask.
It doesn't look good, does it, Professor?
Shakes his head.
At the moment, it looks like you're stuck here.
Them there into interior bedroom Marty day. Morning light streams into the window. Marty sleeps inside the bed, still in his clothes. He awakens and sighs as he realizes that his surroundings are real, and it wasn't a dream, and he's stuck here. He turns on the cathedral radio by the bed, no sound. He hits it several times, not realizing that it simply has to warm up. Finally, there's music. Pericomo. Marty twists the dial and picks up Dina Shore. Then Les Brown. Then Benny Goodwin. Swing tunes. 50 schmaltz. Then nothing that resembles the rock and roll. Disgusted, Marty shuts it off. Interior kitchen Marty day. Marty takes in an old-fashioned drip of coffee.
Give me 1 sec. Let's reverse that. Marty takes an old-fashioned drip coffee pot out of the cabinet. He fumbles it and breaks it into component parts. Marty tries to put it back together. Cut to Marty. Fucking Marty pulls a bottle of milk out of the refrigerator. He removes the foil seal and tries to pour some into a glass. Nothing comes out. The cardboard stopper is still in it. Marty tries to pull it out. He can't get the tab. Frustrated, he punches a hole in it with his finger. Cut to Marty, drinking a fucking glass of milk, looking at the magazines and newspapers on the kitchen table. Time has a cover story. The Republicans, who will win in 52, with photos of the top contenders.
Eisenhower.
He looks at Newsweek, cover story. Will we have a war with Russia this year?
No.
He tosses it aside. He tries a newspaper. Right?
It's 2017.
Yeah.
One more trip forward.
Topical.
Yes, perfect. How would we know this crazy events would come back to now? He tosses it aside. He tries the newspaper. Crime rates continue to rise. He shakes his head. Looks at it with Saturday Evening Post, which has a picture of some high school students with the question, "What's wrong with the younger generation?" He laughs, turns it over and sees on the back cover the famous Van Housen shirt ad featuring Ronald Reagan.
Jesus.
The doorbell rings. Marty reaches with uncertainty. He's not sure what to do. It rings again. Marty gets up and cautiously walks to the front door. He stares at it, unable to make up his mind. The bell rings again. Finally, Marty opens the door. It's Professor Brown, who immediately points an accusing finger at him.
Aha! You answered the door.
You were ringing the bell.
Marty takes a step back as the professor walks inside.
I told you not to interfere with any of the events of this time. Nobody's supposed to see you here. What if I was a mailman? Or a salesman?
What if you lost your keys?
Then I would have figured out to get back in through events in the natural course of history. Don't you understand? The fabric of history is very delicate. Anything you do could have serious consequences.
Hey, look, give me a break. All I did was answer the door. How's that gonna change history?
I don't know, but I don't want to take any chances. Now you stay here and don't do anything. Don't answer the door, don't answer the phone, don't go outside. Understand?
Marty's fed up with the lecture.
Hey, get off my case, would you? I didn't want to come here. The only reason I'm here in the first place is because I was a nice guy helping you out. So don't tell me I gotta stay cooped up in here and veg out, because none of this was my fault.
Let me put it on a level you can understand. You don't belong here. You don't know anything about this world. You don't know the customs. You don't know how to talk, how to act. You don't even look like you belong here. And if you walked out on the street, you wouldn't get 100 yards without being arrested. Then there would be a lot of questions. And where would we come up with the answers?
Marty sighs.
Okay, Rick. I get where you're coming from. The way I look, the way I'm dressed, I'd stick out like a sore thumb.
I'm glad we finally got that straightened out. I'll see you tonight.
He exits and slams the door behind him. Cut to exterior, Professor Brown's house day. A window opens and Marty climbs out. But now he's wearing some of the professor's clothes. And he's got his hair slicked back in a Ronald Reagan style. He actually looks like a resident of 1952. Marty runs off down to the hill, toward the town. Exterior Business Street, Marty pedestrians, day. Marty walks down the sidewalk with other pedestrians, trying to act like he belongs. He's doing a good job of it too, because no one gives him a second glance. Suddenly, a cop in front of him glances at Marty, then points an accusing finger.
Hey, you. Yeah, what are you doing? Where do you think you're going?
Panic fills Marty's face as the cop approaches him. Has he been had? No, the cop walks right past him. and
Rocks
right past him. No, and call a tramp several yards behind Marty. Marty sighs of relief.
Marty?
Bops down the street, full of confidence, full of excitement, full of curiosity. He's a tourist in another time, and he takes in the sights, which include an appliance store selling gigantic 8-inch televisions with a screen as big as life. A gas station sells gas at 18.9 cents a gallon. Is that really
a 0.9 cent?
0.9 cents.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Wow.
Wow. A travel agency advertising LA to New York in merely 12 hours. fuck? Oh, a dance studio where through the window you can be seeing a mambo class. A big sign says everybody's doing the mambo. A clothing store displays the latest fashions. A Studio Baker showroom with the most modern car ever developed in the entire history of man. Exterior, a record store, Marty. Marty stares at the window display at the record store, promoting America's top recording artists, Sinatra, Guy Combardo, Dina Shore, and Perry Como. Something is bothering Marty, so he has to go in. Interior record store, Marty. The #1 single is prominently displayed on the counter. Papa Loves a Mambo by Perry Como. Marty can't believe it. A clerk approaches him.
Can I help you, sir? This is the #1 record? Yes, sir. I don't get it. How come there's no rock and roll? I beg your pardon. This is 1952. Yes, sir. And you never heard of rock and roll? No. Well, maybe it's time you did.
Cut to exterior pawn shop. A pawnbroker pulls a guitar out of the window, along with a price tag $5. Interior pawn shop, Marty and pawnbroker. The pawnbroker takes the guitar to the cash register. Marty follows him. Pawnbroker.
That'll be $5.
Marty pulls out his wallet and hands him a 20. The pawnbroker rings it up, then takes a closer look at the bill.
Hey, what kind of funny money is this?
Huh?
It says 1977 on it. What do you take me for, an idiot?
He gives back the bill to Marty. Marty looks at it and realizes his mistake.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe I did that. That's a joke. My friend had these printed up. See, that's his name there. Blumenthal.
The pawnbroker is eyeing Marty suspiciously. Marty checks his wallet.
Gee, I don't seem to have anything on me. How about this watch? It's genuine antique.
Marty hands the man the watch. The broker examines it.
Antique. They just came out with this watch last month. But this one looks like it's been through a war.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of traveling.
Okay, kid, you got a deal. The watch for the guitar.
Cut to interior talent agent's office. Marty is performing blue suede shoes for an agent in the office. Marty's really cooking, jumping around like Elvis and really playing his heart out. He's good too. The agent, 45, sits stone-faced behind his messy desk, puffing on a big cigar. The office is the same feeling as the agent. Cheap. The walls are covered with 8x10s of clients. Interior outer office. The music can be heard coming from the frosted glass door with the words Midwest Talent Agency. On it here in the outer office. The secretary listens, but doesn't seem to care much for it. But Reginald Washington, 32, a black man with silk shirt, processed hair, and two-tone shoes, is very interested. He pulls his ear to the door and snaps his fingers to the tune. He likes it. Interior agent's office. Marty finishes the number. The agent isn't impressed.
Well, kid, it's interesting. I'll say that, but it's not commercial.
Not a commercial. Mister, don't you know what you're listening to?
This is rock and roll.
Call it what you want to, kid. But don't call this music. 'Cause it surely ain't that.
You don't understand.
But no buts, kid. I've been in it my whole life. And I know what people want. The smooth sounds. That's what sells. God, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Crosby.
Oh, yeah.
Dinosaur.
Woo!
Give me a melody.
Oh, yeah.
And a nice slow tempo. Now beat it. I'm gonna shove you out this damn door.
The agent shoves Marty out the door. Interior outer office. Marty is stunned. In a moment, the door opens and his case is thrown out too. Reginald goes over to him.
That sound I just heard coming through the door, that was like nothing I've ever heard before. I mean, you've got something there, young man.
Who are you?
Reginald Washington is my name. I manage some of the local bands around town, and I think you've got something. We can promote all the way to the top. Now, I've got a real important cat coming in from New York Record Company on Monday the 18th, and I want you to play that music for him. I think the time has come for a sound like that.
Marty grins. Reginald takes a business card and writes the particulars on it.
That's March 18th, noon. Be at my office. What's your name?
Marty Lewis.
Marty Lewis. See you on the 18th.
Reginald gives him the card and they shake hands. Marty's elated.
Right on, brother.
All right, that's different. Reginald's has never heard Reginald's never heard that expression before.
I think you're a little mixed up. There's absolutely no way that I could be your brother.
Reginald walks off. Marty looks at the card and smiles. Interior Marty's bedroom at Brown's house, night. Marty's dressed once again in his 1980s clothes, as he is practicing on the guitar in front of the mirror. He hears the door opening downstairs, so he quickly puts the guitar in the corner, messes up his hair, takes Reginald's business card from off the bed and sticks it in the pocket of his Porsche jacket, which is laying on the chair. Interior Brown's house, front alcove, night. Marty comes running down the stairs and finds a very sullen Professor Brown pouring himself a drink. Brown looks at him.
Well, I found an energy source that can generate the 4,200 rads that we need. An atomic bomb!
Professor, be serious, would you?
I am serious. If we could get you, the time machine, and the power converter in the vicinity of an atomic blast, we could send you back to the future.
Bum, bum, bum. Roll credits.
Scene. You're talking crazy. An atomic blast would melt me in the time machine in a matter of seconds.
You forget. Time travel is instantaneous. The time machine would melt, but you would have already traveled through time. Of course, it's a moot point regardless. The only place atomic bombs are detonated is at the Army's Nevada test site. And those tests are kept absolutely top secret.
Something suddenly occurs to Marty, and he bolts back upstairs. Interior, Marty's bedroom, Brown's house. Marty rushes into the bedroom and goes through the pockets of his Porsche jacket. He pulls out the textbook page he passed to Susie Parker and unfolds it. Reginald's business card falls out of the same pocket. Insert the textbook page. Underneath the picture of the mushroom cloud is the caption, Last above ground atomic test, 15 megatons, March 18th, 1952, Atkins, Nevada. Marty compares this business card and the dates, and they're the same. He considers his problem. Then he makes a decision. He crumbles up the textbook page and throws it into the trash can. Now Professor Brown enters.
Marty, what's wrong?
He slips the card back in the jacket and shrugged, trying to seem nonchalant.
Oh, nothing. I thought I left the lotto running.
Professor Brown catches a glimpse of the guitar in the corner, then has a closer look.
Say, where did you get this guitar from?
Oh, that. I found it in the closet.
I do not recall ever seen it before.
Well, it was there.
Curious, very curious.
Got to interior Marty's bedroom, Brown's house, morning light streams through the window.
I can't do it, it's too hard to do. I can't do it. Marty awakens this time. He's sleeping in the bed instead of on it. That's weird, I guess. He smiles. Interior kitchen. Marty pours himself a cup of coffee from the drip coffee pot. The victoriously pulls the stopper out of the milk bottle. His mood is very positive. He sings as he adds milk to his coffee.
So you want to be a rock star?
Once again, the doorbell rings. Marty reacts with not again look and goes to answer it. Interior. At the front door, Marty shakes his head as he opens the door.
Look, Professor, I'm not... Oh.
Marty. It's
Eileen.
Ooh. Marty's dumbfounded. She smiles at him. She is carrying books, obviously on her way to school.
Hi, Marty.
Hi.
Eileen.
It's hard for him to say.
Right. Eileen.
You remember me?
A little unsure of herself.
Oh, sure, I remember you.
Well, I was on my way to school and I just wanted to stop by and see if you were feeling okay. You seemed like you were in pretty bad shape the other night.
Oh, I'm feeling much better now.
How long are you planning on staying?
Actually, it looks like I'm gonna be stuck here for a while.
Hopefully.
Then you'll be going to school here?
School? I never thought of school. If I went to school, I would blend in with everybody else, couldn't I?
She doesn't know how to react.
What time does school start around here?
9 o'clock. Oh, I'm late. Maybe I'll see you later.
Yes, maybe so.
She smiles and hurries off to school. Exterior, high school day. It's the same school we saw in 1982, but the trees are smaller, and there's no graffiti or broken windows. Only a few students loitering in the front. School. is in session. Marty, dressed once again for 1952, goes up to the front steps carrying a notebook. As he gets close to the door, the bell rings, indicating a passing period. Interior school hall, Marty and students. Students pour into the hallway from the classroom. Marty marvels at what his contemporaries look like. Marty proceeds through the corridor and pauses at a classroom door. He decides to enter. Interior classroom door. Interior classroom. Interior science classroom. It's the same science classroom Marty was in earlier. Only everything looks much newer, and the chalkboards look black instead of green. Marty goes over to his desk. Of course, it's now in excellent condition, and he runs his hand across the desktop.
You're there. What are you doing in this class?
The voice is familiar.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Marty looks up. It's Mr. Archie, 30 years younger. Marty's eyes nearly fall out of his head. Young Mr. Archie is energetic and dynamic, the kind of teacher who's going to change the world.
Mr. Aki! Mr. Aki!
Yes, that's my name. Who are you, young man? Are you supposed to be here?
Yes, I am new here. I'm supposed to be in this class.
You got a name?
Marty Lewis.
Close, on an inkwell, as a fountain pen is dipped into and sucks in the ink. Wide-angle science class, as Marty stares with amazement at the student next to him filling her pen. Mr. Archie is in the middle of his lecture.
And it is, of course, due to science that we Americans enjoy the highest standard of living in the history of the world. When we think of the technological advances made in just the past 30 years, it boggles the mind to imagine what the world will be like in another 30 years. I think I can safely say that we can all look forward to a world of plenty, a world free of disease and starvation. There'll be entire cities built under the sea, cars that can go 200 or 300 miles an hour.
And apparently a lot of pudding cups.
No shit.
Marty can't believe what he's hearing. The rest of the class seems pretty bored.
You girls will be able to cook an entire meal, clean the entire house, and do all of your laundry and ironing by push button.
Damn straight.
God damn it. You may even have a robot to assist you with all your duties as a wife.
Or we'll have the men do it.
That's known in the script.
Let's just not do it.
Don't be silly.
A wise guy calls out from the back. I hope these robots don't... Oh, wait. Is that somebody?
I don't know.
Who's wise guy?
Am I
Any
wise
wise
guy?
guys? Okay, you be wise guy.
I'm Mr. Argy.
Oh, okay. I hope these robots won't be assisting in all my wife's duties.
Oh, shit.
Hey!
It will.
Hey!
Well, Biff. Since you
Oh,
see,
shit.
it was Biff the whole time. God damn it. Well, Biff. Since you seem so eager to get into this discussion, perhaps you'd like to tell us what you think you'll be doing in 30 years.
Yes, surprise! It's a young Biff Tannen, sitting in the back of the class, looking just like what he is, the high school's biggest asshole. Sitting around him are the three cronies, Gums, so named because he's missing his two front teeth, Match, who is perpetually chewing on wooden matchsticks, and Skinhead, who is a crew cut just short of being bald. Marty turns around and stares at Biff.
I know what I won't be doing. Going to school.
Biff's boys breaking hysterics though. Hey,
Biff, caught one.
Out of way, Biff.
Now Biff notices that Marty's staring at him. He takes an immediate dislike to Marty.
Were you looking at a-hole?
Marty's eyes meet Biff's hateful glare. Then Marty remembers shit and turns away.
Did anybody else have any ideas about what life might be like in 30 years?
Just like any other school, and as per usual, I hate saying that, as usual, no one raises their hand.
Mr. Cusimano, Miss Voiles, Miss Kinnear. So am I to understand that no one has anything at all to say about the future?
Archie looks directly at Marty.
How about you, Mr. McFly?
Marty reacts with shock. Somehow he's been found out.
Oh, shit.
Several heads turn with shock at Marty's expletives, including Biff. At the same time, the student sitting directly in front of Marty opens his mouth.
Well,
It's a young George McFly.
yeah.
And he's really a mess, too. Nervous, hair poorly combed, just not with it. I mean, just not with it.
Mm.
Yeah. There you go.
Ah.
Marty realizes who it is.
Jesus Christ. Dad.
Mr. Archie tries to ignore it all.
Continue, Mr. McFly.
George stands. Marty reacts with embarrassment for himself and his future father.
Well, how could